My name is Ash Solar. I'm a partner co-founder of the Bay Ed Fund, and we are really, really grateful to be here with all of you today. Really excited to share the story of South City, but before I dive into inviting the panelists to introduce themselves, I know we're still going to be trickling in, but I'm going to ask all of you to help me out to warm up the room. We had the privilege of putting this panel together with invitation a couple weeks ago, and it is a very, very busy time of year. And all three of our panelists were really excited to be a part of this, and they have hustled in a busy time of year to be ready to rock. But I told them this is a super friendly room, and they've got an amazing story to tell. So if y'all could help me with just a preemptive round of applause. So, all right. Excellent. Thank you all very much. And now they're going to earn it. Watch this. Here we go. Alma, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alma Reed Soto. I am a proud parent of San Francisco parent leaders, and I'm an alum, and I am passionate about helping other parents. Parents find their voice. One thing I hope people take away from this today panel is that as a parent, we are our children's first and strong advocate. There is a tremendous power as a parent in working together with teachers to create the best forward for our children. We speak up, stand together, and stay informed. We show our children that strength of partnership and community and love are part of this work is to support parents in understanding the power we hold, not just at home, but in our schools and beyond.
I'm Kelly August Duncan. I am a proud middle school teacher. I've been teaching for 26 years, 17 in the at Alta Loma Middle School in South San Francisco Unified. I come to this work as a person who came from a family that didn't really have a lot of college education and that sort of thing, but I'm very passionate about being a teacher who remains in the classroom while still also having my foot in teacher leadership and ensuring that the voice of the classroom teacher is shaped by the most important voice in the room, and that's the students. The thing that I hope you take away from this is that you need to pull all voices in. Everyone. This process that we've been doing has been amazing because we have pulled in parents from all different schools, all different communities within our community, but we never left out the students this time, and that's the most important thing that you can do.
And good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Shantara Moore. I am privileged to serve as the superintendent in South San Francisco Unified. This is my 25th year in education. I spent the first decade in the Central Valley in Stockton. That's where I began my career. And then the last 15 years here in South San Francisco. And so this August will be my 10th year in this seat, which is just an incredible blessing. Yes, thank you. Thank you. You know, I think one of the things that I feel most afforded by in this role is really being able to connect very well with students to find out from them what they think we're doing really well and what they think we are not doing as well, and then leveraging that to keep pushing forward on progress. I think my hope today is that we can collectively just think about how important it is to galvanize our communities. That includes our students, our families, our partners, our educators, and really thinking about how do we dream big? How do we come together and maintain hope? How do we create systems of joy and engagement and collaboration? And so my hope is that as you hear our story today, you hear elements of the ways in which we've been able to do that, and it's still a journey for us, so we will continue to do that here in South San Francisco. Thank you again for having us. We're excited to engage.
Okay, so I get to play a very small part in the telling of a very big story of the South San Francisco journey. But before I dive into teeing them up with a bunch of questions, wanted to provide a little bit of context. Again, I'm Ash Solar, partner and co-founder at the Bay Ed Fund, and we've been lucky enough to be a partner with the South City community for going on starting 4 years. I want to be really clear from the top that today's conversation is by design about the how. How do we do the work? I think as a career ed reformer, we spend a lot of time on the what's. What is the next thing we need to do? What is the next big idea? There are a lot of what's happening in South City, but by design, today's conversation is about how. How do we go about doing the right work the right way, and what are they doing to make that true for their community? And so in teeing up the conversation about the Bay Ed Fund, I'll lean into Francis's invitation in terms of courage to lead. And for me, courage starts with candor, and it starts with vulnerability. And for me, my journey into the Bay Ed Fund and the conversation with Paul Keyes and Michelle Boyers, who are here as co-founders as well, I really entered the conversation a bit of a mid-career crisis, if I'm not lying to you. I've spent my whole career in education. I've been lucky enough to be a part of some really exciting big efforts. Michelle was a part of Joel Klein's tenure in the New York City Department of Ed. She was the head of HR in Boston. Paul was a part of TFA's national team and got to see some of the biggest efforts in the country unfold before coming to San Francisco. I got to do really exciting work in Tennessee as part of Race to the Top. But I came into this work in a bit of a mid-year crisis because after 20 years of doing hard work, in retrospect, it felt like so much of it, despite being incredibly well-intentioned, incredibly well-resourced, had either fallen short and or come undone. And as we thought about, if we're lucky enough to spend the next 25 years of our life in this work, what would have to be true about the next 25 years for it to build on the great work that's happened in the last 20 or 25, but also be different in the way it needs to be different? And so the Bay Ed Fund was not launched. We didn't start our conversation looking to launch an organization. We started just in conversation as individuals at a crossroad, and there were 3 essential questions, which you see up here, which are, if we were lucky enough to do this work for the next 25 years, what would have to be true and different about the way we did it for it to be transformational for kids, not incrementally better, because kids need dramatically better? What would have to be true for that work to last at a magnitude of decades, not a superintendency or a school board election cycle? And thirdly, what would have to be true about how we did that work for it to be deeply aligned to our personal values and integrity? Because each of us had been in the room where it happened at different points in our career and had moments where we didn't feel so great about the decision that got made or the reasons it got made. And so those were the questions that we asked, and we were lucky enough to have that conversation. Started with us, then with dozens of friends, and ended up being probably hundreds of friends and thought leaders, and some themes emerged that became the pillars of the Bay Ed Fund. The first thing about the Bay Ed Fund approach is we put community first. And so we don't start with what do we think the answer is for kids, what is the right idea. We start with, if we put our ear to the ground and we listen deeply to students, to families, and educators, what will they say matters most? And then how do we support them to make that happen? 2, we align around a co-created vision. And so when we find a community that is excited to partner with us after 50 to 100 conversations with different constituents, we embark on a 1 to 2 year journey with them to listen really deeply to all the constituents, to really understand what is our current reality and what is our dream for our students, and what is the path to get from here to there. And that is a co-created vision. And once that vision and plan are in place, we do 3 things. We provide support on the ground, which means we provide funding, we provide capacity building, and we do whatever it takes. We consider ourselves all-in partners. So whatever it takes, we roll up our sleeves. When this is over, if we needed to clean the tables or stack the chairs, we do it, whatever it takes. 4, we cultivate the exceptional talent. There are extraordinary leaders, as you'll see in South City, in every community, and we don't create them. We get the privilege of meeting them, and then we get the privilege of supporting them. And so we run fellowships for family leaders, for educator leaders, for district and school leaders, but we believe that the answers are in the community and the leadership is in the community. And we try to make sure they have the team they need to deliver on the vision they've created. And then lastly, and this feels like common sense, but it's also kind of provocative. We commit to providing long-term, results-focused capital. And so one of the power dynamics in philanthropy we seek to disrupt is breaking the cycle of, like, you can have a one-year grant and we expect a Disney movie's worth of results, and maybe we'll reinvest. When we partner with the community, we commit for 10 years. And we assume, sorry, Dr. Moore, love and respect, superintendents in general, not Dr. Moore, will come and go. Not Dr. Moore. School board elections will go good, they'll go bad. But those are not times to reassess the risk of our investment. Those are times to double down our commitment to the community. That's when students, families, educators need our support most to weather the ups and the downs. And so those are the 5 things I would say undergird the approach we take. And so thank y'all for the grace of letting me give you a little bit of context of who the Bay Ed Fund is and what we're about. And now for the fun part for me, getting to let these incredible leaders tell the story of South City. Dr. Moore, I'm going to ask you to do some of the heavy lifting to get us started. So Dr. Moore is going to share a little bit of context about South San Francisco Unified, the community. And so if I can ask you to just give that flyover.
Sure, absolutely. So South San Francisco, we're a mid-sized school district. We serve about a little less than 8,000 students. We are sandwiched in between Daly City and San Bruno. And we span across 3 cities, so South San Francisco, Daly City, and San Bruno. We serve just an incredibly diverse population of students. We have almost 50% of our kiddos who are come from Latino or Latinx communities, and then our Asian and Filipino population follows that, about 20%, and then we have our Caucasian students, and then a smaller percentage of African American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian. We also have about 1,150 employees. And of that, we have about 70% who identify as female and about 30% who identify as male. And so what I'm proud of is we have a really strong community who really values and believes in the diversity that we have and really treasures the commitment that we all have in service and support of the students that we serve. While our outcomes have been steadily improving in some areas and our overall performance is often better than the state average, as well as our graduation rates are continuing to grow and increase, we still recognize that we just aren't there yet. We do have a lot to be proud of, but we also know that there are many needs that our students have that we are not yet meeting. And so we believe that we have a moral imperative and we will not rest until we can create systems that allow us to ensure that all of our learners are deeply engaged in ways that are inclusive, in ways that are collaborative, in ways that are authentic, self-directed, and of course we want these ways to also be joyful. So that gives you a little bit of context about South San Francisco.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Dr. Moore generously met with Paul and I before the Bay Ed Fund actually officially existed. So we were getting close to existing, but it was an idea. The district was coming out of the pandemic. We met, connected. Can you share for the room why in that moment it felt so important for you to take on such an intensive, inclusive, and rigorous visioning process?
Absolutely. You know, coming off of the heels of the pandemic, and this is no surprise to anybody, we recognize that there were a lot of challenges that were unveiled in our community and many communities across the state, across the country, across the world. In our district, I am proud to say that oftentimes we look at challenges and opportunities as truly opportunities from which to overcome and to grow. And so my team and I met, and when we met as a team, we had just been digging into our data and trying to really understand what were the impacts that our students were experiencing in our communities. And what we realized is we were able to very quickly and responsively respond to the needs of our community during the pandemic, quite quickly. And you all know what that entails, getting devices, making sure they had food, making sure we had hotspots. So there were things that we were able to pivot on. And we also were able to bring our community together to talk about instructional models and to talk about safety protocols. So in that moment, we leveraged, if we could do that in the worst of times, why won't we learn from that and leverage that to really reimagine what could be possible in South San Francisco Unified for all of our students. And so that realization came to us, and we started thinking about, doing business as usual is not working. It's working beautifully for some of our students, but for a majority of our students, it absolutely wasn't, and particularly students who are often in marginalized community. That was a call for us to do something different, to learn new approaches. And what we really thought about is anywhere we go is going to be great. We'll go from here and it'll go up. We'll go up. And so that was really the impetus for us to say, the time is now. Kids are waiting. We have to do differently and we have to do better in service of them.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. I'll do a little color commentary here.
Please.
Kind of by design, the BAD Fund does not have a rigorous rubric of which district do we think is ready for our work. We kind of think that rubric probably disqualifies the districts that most need our support and work. And so the one thing we look for before we start deeply engaging the broader community is, do we see a superintendent who holds the same values of, I don't need to have all the answers, but if I can listen deeply to my students and my families, I can understand the work we need to do. And it didn't take but 5 minutes in our conversation with Dr. Moore to realize that this was a leader who believed deeply in the need to hear directly from the folks who we get out of bed to serve, and it's been a privilege to do this work with you. So, a little improv color commentary. Back to the show. Last little foundation setting before we get into the experiences. Can you just lay out just the kind of, what was the process, what was the journey that you all went on?
Absolutely. So we initially launched a visioning team, and that was intentionally designed to be really diverse in perspectives and viewpoints. And we did that very intentionally because, again, you'll hear us speak a lot about being radically inclusive. We wanted it to look and feel different from how we had engaged previously when we worked with our community. And so part of that effort was to bring people together with the goal, we're going to dream big and we're going to hope and develop aspirations for what we want to be true for every single child in our school system. At that point, we intentionally withheld our administrator participation because we wanted this to be the community's dreams and hopes without administrators coming in and sharing what we thought the dreams and hopes should be of our community. And so concurrently, we then partnered with an organization to do an organizational diagnostic of the district, just to get an understanding of what's working really well in our district and what are still some opportunities with which we needed to continue to grow. Part of that was done very intentionally and very publicly to model how important it is to ask for that data and ask for that feedback and then respond to that feedback. But it was also to show that we recognize that we are imperfect and that we are not serving kids in the very best ways. And our intentions are always to look in the mirror and say, if we are part of the problem, how do we rectify that? As district office leaders, as a community, how do we come together and make sure that we are working in collaboration to serve our community? We did it in a no shame, no blame way and publicly shared the good, the bad, the ugly about what was working, what was not working, what we needed to do differently, which was great. Through this process, we engaged over 5,000 students, educators, family members, community members, a lot of community conversations and focus groups just to get a sense from our community what they wanted. And from that, we developed a new mission, we developed our portrait of a graduate, and then we developed core values for our organization. And then also through our organizational diagnostic, it allowed us to focus in on what our community said. And they said, we want strong academics for all students. We want to focus on the mental health and well-being of our students. We want there to be a strategic focus on a few priorities and do them really well. We want you to bring in partnerships that can help continue the good work that we've begun. We want you to allocate resources equitably. And of course, we want it to be clear. What is it that we are working on? What is our vision? What is our North Star? And then let's align resources to that and then follow up. And so our board unanimously adopted those pillars, and then we pivoted to start engaging our guiding coalition to actually do the work and realize the vision of the work. Thank you.
Now that it's like on a slide, it's really easy and glossy to say we talked to 5,000 people. Girls, that is hella hard. And it was a grind. It was Alma and family leaders being in schools before drop-off, after pickup. It was incredible community partners like Faith in Action being like, give us the phone numbers and we will call every Spanish-speaking parent at a Title I school, not once, not twice, but as many times as it takes to get them to know what's going on and to weigh in. And it was a grind, but it was so worth it. And so don't let the slide fool you. It's work.
It is very pretty, though.
It is a pretty slide. The color palette is top shelf. Okay. You've now gotten to like, what was the process? Dr. Moore, last one for you, and then I'm Kelly, get ready, shine bright. Like, what were a couple of the like most seminal moments, like for you, that pulled at your heartstrings, changed the way you lead? What were a couple of the highlights?
Well, there's one that I remember very vividly. It was in the spring of 2023. And one of the things I really appreciated, as you hear, we did a lot of engagement sessions, and those were really listening sessions. And so we had launched, in partnership with Bayard Fund, a Family Fellows program. And I was invited to come to that space and really just listen. And the purpose of that was for our families to tell me what things they thought we should continue doing, what things we should stop doing, what things they thought we should adjust or revise. And so I went in truly with a humbled heart of just wanting to hear the experiences of our family leaders. And I'll tell you, I walked out of that space deeply heartbroken. I had families tell me in this district that in some of our schools, they felt invisible, they felt excluded, they felt that the language barrier made them feel like they were less than or inferior, that they weren't necessarily comfortable coming on our campuses. And it was a gut check for me as the superintendent, thinking that we are doing some great work engaging our families and making sure everybody feels seen, heard, and cared for, which is a big value for me. And I was so grateful that they trusted me enough to be honest with me. And so I leaned in to really listen and hear what they had to say. And I left and cried in my car and called the members of my team and said, this is unacceptable. What are we going to do? Because we have a group of community members, of families, who do not feel like they are part of this community, and we are a unified school district. And so that was a pivotal moment for me and my leadership as someone who really tries to lead with love and lead with heart, and to have families sitting shoulder to shoulder with me saying, that's not my experience, was deeply troubling to me and heartbreaking. And so as a result, that became part of our effort to think about what are we going to do differently, which helped launch customer service and how we talk to and treat people. What are we going to do differently to elevate the voices of our families so that they can tell us directly? It wasn't enough for them to tell me and me to relay their stories. I wanted our families to be able to relay their stories and help other people also understand how important it is about the impacts that we have every single day. One interaction, one word, one look, one smile. How we can change the trajectory, the feeling, the experience of our families. And that has been something that has galvanized me and my team in really thinking about what can we do differently and better. And so we started trying to do better immediately in partnership with our families. And so that was something that still tugs at my heartstrings, but thank you for allowing me to share that.
Thank you for sharing it. And it's actually a quite nice tee-up. Alma. As the district was launching its visioning process, you actually were one of the founding fellows. And it'd be great if you could just share, what was that experience like?
When we first started, we were invited. I was recommended by my principal at my daughter's middle school. It was exciting to learn that there was going to be more like something to be more involved in the school. At first, I was like, what is this? What is this that we're getting invited to? But when we first show up, my sister was also invited. We both went. We just went to go see what it was, just to like, when you want to see what's happening in the school. So that's what we did. It was exciting to learn how our district and school system work. For example, We got to see data, what grade level our kids were, not just their kids, but all the kids in the district, stuff that we didn't know about. So as parents to know, we're failing in math, we're failing in literacy, it was super exciting to get to know. And hearing other testimonies from other parents, we invited Dr. Moore, and she was there. She listened to us. She also shared her own testimony, and she was there to just listen to us as parents. Testimonies. It was an eye-opening to learn how our kids were doing in literacy and math and gaps that needed to be filled to help our children succeed. And it felt like empowering to advocate because we felt like Dr. Moore and the district were actually ready to listen to us and to make a change together. Throughout the fellowship, we got to work with the district, advocate for our children's education, and see the powerful parent hold. For example, personally, the experience helped me learn about the system, helped me learn what the school was doing, learn about our district, basically stuff that we as parents didn't know because we were never informed so much. It also helped me gain confidence. Public speaking has been one of my biggest challenges, and I felt like advocating for my child's education helped me become a stronger speaker. When I first started, I couldn't even speak. I literally would come up and I wouldn't say anything. And I'm here in front of you guys today. I also enjoy building community with other parents who are facing similar struggles. When I first started the fellowship program, I thought I was the only parent facing these challenges. After the fellowship, I learned we were facing similar struggles, and we were able to come together to support each other and advocate for kids in our district.
Thank you, Alma. I'll do a little color commentary again. So for the Bay Ed Fund, by design, when we partner with the community, we tell the district this is not a district grant. This is a community investment fund, and the district is an essential part of the work. But it is as important that we invest in community leaders, community partners, as it is as we invest in the district. And for us, the fellowship was an opportunity to make sure that parents who aren't usually in the rooms where it happens have a chance to come together, build community, get informed, find their voice, and so that way they do get invited into the visioning process. It's not coming into a cafeteria not knowing what's happening, but it's showing up with a clear point of view, a clear sense of power, and a clear sense of ownership of the work. And it was one of the all-time joys of my life to get to be in the back of that room and to watch y'all cook on them. It was really, really extraordinary. So you finished the fellowship, the visioning process is rolling. Can you share a little bit about what was the role you and the 25 other family fellows played as a partner to the district in that visioning process?
I would say the biggest role of family leadership was helping to make sure family voices were heard. And we were part of shaping the Portrait of the Graduate and strategic plan. And that they reflect the needs of students and families that as parents we see in our children's experience. When we first started, right? We started reaching out to parents, helping them get informed on what's happening around our district, what the district was planning, organizing with all the parents in our district. We got to provide transportation, translation for all the parents that could attend the meeting. For example, big community meetings inform families and also ask for feedback on Portrait of the Graduate. We led a big recruiting effect to bring students, families to the event. We also welcome family, faculty, small group conversations, and advocated for things like transportation. I would say translation was one of the main things that we needed because we are a big, large community of Hispanic in our district. And transportation also, it's a hard thing in our district.
You're doing great, Lava.
And a lot of us have also joined different committees, groups that help shape the Portrait of the Graduate, the strategic plan. We got in the chance to work together with board members, district leaders, And we also have created a relationship. I could say I have a lot of friends in the district that I wouldn't have had if I have not attended the fellowship program. And it also plays a big role in our school system.
All right. Thank you, Alma. I think you see the pictures of the community conversation. One comment I want to make is I remember when we showed up to that room, it was a room that you all co-created with the district. You gave them feedback on, this is how we've not felt welcome in the past. This is things we could do to make it more welcoming. You came up with, we need childcare, we need transportation, and you helped create that space. And for me, I'll never forget the assistant superintendent saying, for years, I haven't been able to get 5 Spanish-speaking parents to an LCAP meeting or a district planning meeting. And what was special about that room is there were 150 people in it. Probably 3 out of 4 were Spanish-speaking, and that meeting was run in Spanish. So if you didn't speak Spanish, you were wearing the earpiece. And that would not have been possible without the Family Fellows doing the hard work to turn out their community and to facilitate those breakout tables. Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you. As the educator leader, thank you for your patience. Thanks. Can you share a little bit about your experience from the educator seat, getting invited into and participating in this visioning and planning process?
So as I mentioned before, I've been with the district for 17 years, and there's been a lot of reform movements and improvement movements and things, and they would happen. There was literally a strategic plan about 10 years ago that I was part of. I was on the small working group that came up with the 4 E's that were going to guide our district, and then I watched it die over 3 years. And it could have been disheartening, and there was a lot of pressure on me to like, hey, maybe you should go to the district office now. And as I said in my opening, I became who I am, what I do, so I could teach, so I could be with children every day, not so I could be pie in the sky district office person. I love her. She's very good at her job, but that is not me. And I guess the other guiding principle for me personally, and one that I will advocate to people all the time, is I'm a child of the 80s. So school was done to me. I was told what I had to do, what row to sit in, what bubble to fill in. When I first started teaching, believe it or not, the first California state standards came out my second year in the classroom. And maybe then we started to do work for kids. But the ultimate goal should always be, are we doing this with kids? That's the society we live in. That's the world that we're trying to create. Are we working with our learners to give them the outcomes that they want, not the outcomes that we want? Say the question again.
So, in the visioning experience, can you just share some of the highlights of your experience being a part of that? The Lindsay trip, the panel.
As part of doing this with children, we went to a school district in the Central Valley called Lindsay Unified School District. Some of you may have heard of it. They have done incredible things. I'm from the Central Valley. I grew up there. I knew Lindsay for 2 things: olives and poverty. That's what I knew. And then I went on these campuses and had 5th graders leading me around, telling me about their work, had kindergartners talking to me about their process, and then going to the high school and having a student who walked through her entire portfolio, kindergarten through 12th grade. Said, here's everything I've learned. These are the 5 colleges I'm going to, and yeah, I'm gonna come back to Lindsay after school because I wanna make a difference in my community. And the schools did that. Because about 25 years ago, there were about 25 people who decided they were going to do school with children, and they were not going to give up on that no matter what. And for many of them, I met a teacher who, she was still in the classroom too, and she said she had literally taken 25 years worth of file cabinet stuff, tossed it, and started over. And I was like, you're my people, okay. But then I also thought, Lindsay can do this, so can we. And so it's been a long process. There's bumps and bobbles along the way. Sometimes things feel like they're getting bogged down, but this time also feels different. The 4 E's are not going to float off into the ether, because it's not just about, we have this beautiful graphic that says learn, navigate, impact, thrive. We're living it in its messiness, in its glory, but we're living it with our children.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to make a pivot to, that was the visioning process. It took 18 months in South City, but one of our goals as the Bay Ed Fund is, how do we think about being a fund that operates with investor principles, with organizer principles, not investor principles, right? Which means you move at the speed of trust. You move at the speed of relationships. You move at the speed of shared purpose. And so as much as Paul and I might have wanted to Gantt chart this sucker out, like, that wasn't it. Like, we have Gantt charts and we do our best to keep to them, but like, we move as urgently as we can, as fast as we can, but as slow as we must. And they worked hard for 18 months to create their vision, to create their plan. It was unanimously adopted by the board. And so now you have this great poster and a whole lot of big promises, and now the hard work begins, right? And so I'll have said it enough when these three people roll their eyes, but I keep saying adults love to dream for kids. We really struggle to change for kids. And so we did the visioning, we did the dreaming, we've got the plan, and now it's time to deliver, which means it's time to implement. And so I'd love to spend the next couple minutes asking you all about your 1 year in to implementing the plan. Dr. Moore, I'll ask you to go first. Can you just share some of the highlights of year one of implementation?
Yeah, happy to. So we're really grateful because Bay Ed Fund did absolutely help to rally our community to come and to really lean in ways that we deeply desired and wanted. During this process, as I said, we engaged thousands of people, and so I am proud of the fact that we have been excited to talk about our new mission and our vision, and we have developed these bold, incredibly ambitious goals in service of students. And so we now have just a clear expectation that we will get minimally to 80% of our students meeting or exceeding their outcomes over the lifespan of our strategic plan. And to just give you context, we have a little under 50% right now for ELA, and we have a little under 40% right now for math. So we have some work that we have to do. I think in this first year, one of the things that really stands out to me, and when Ash mentions a grind, it's a grind. We decided to really look very deeply at our budget. And we said that we are going to align and allocate our resources in support of this strategic plan. And so we did just that. We launched on this initiative to really look deeply at our budget and think about how are we going to strategically utilize these funds in ways that are equitable and that deeply speak to what we said, what we promised to do for our students. And so as a result of a lot of empathy interviews, a lot of going back and forth, the accordion process of communication, trying to really get it right, here's how we believe we are realigning our resources. I am really excited that in year one, we did a strategic staffing initiative, and our board was incredibly supportive. And so we are in the process of, and almost finished hiring a new coach for school leaders, because instructional leadership came up as something that they thought, our community thought we could do differently and better on. Part of that was also putting instructional coaches in our Title I schools, because we heard from our families, like, we need more resources. We're also allocating wellness counselors to our Title I schools as well, because you heard me say one of the things was about student wellness and student health, mental health and wellness. And so that's something that we're doing. And then we heard from our families. So we now have a new department, Student and Family Services, that will be helping to coordinate services and supports for our students. And then we know that data is really important. And our community said, how do we use data to really drive actions? And so we will be hiring data analysts for our departments, especially those who don't have them, to make sure that we keep data as the central point to help us to know, are we doing well, are we not? I think based on just this very strategic initiative, it has enabled us to really believe that it will lead to greater outcomes for kids. And I will be very quick, Ash, but there's one other thing I want to share. We know that we get a little over $1.5 million from the Bay Ed Fund. So what it allowed us to do is think about what things we could use these dollars more flexibly for, but also let's look at our own budget and see what additional funds we might be able to free up in order to serve and support our students differently. And so what I'm excited about is through this process, one of our schools has just been incredibly kind of an early adopter and really thinking about, this is great, how might we take these priorities and I really think differently about what's happening at my school. And so we took one of our Title I schools. Focus has been really focusing on academic discourse, which is part of our exceptional instruction priority, really leveraging the resources that we're giving to the schools. And her dashboard data was about 42% for English language acquisition. This is Spruce Elementary. That was in 2022, 2023. 2024 dashboard data came out. They went from that to 52.1% of English learners. And so we're just proud. This is just a small milestone. We have a ways to go, but we have bright spots that are happening. And I think in year one of us really pushing really hard on implementing our plan, really, this is the roadmap that we're following. We're really proud of some of the results that we're seeing, in addition to just having teachers engaged in more peer visits now, opening their doors and thinking about how can we all lean in as an entire community. And so that's hard culture work that we're doing too. And so little by little, I'm really proud that this year has really set the landscape for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Kelly, I'm going to tee you up. South City adopted a portrait of a graduate. Again, to the Bay Ed Fund being responsive, we had never talked about portraits of graduate being a part of our work, but that is what the community wanted. And so once the portrait of a graduate was created, the hazard of those is they can turn into a poster and nothing else. But the commitment from the community was, how do we breathe life into this? And so one of the things we helped Dr. Moore do was identify a partner, the Learner-Centered Collaborative, which works with districts across the country to breathe life into portrait of a graduate. And they helped facilitate a guiding coalition this year, a guiding coalition that has parents, has teachers, has principals, union leaders, to say, okay, what is this actually going to look like on Tuesday at 10 a.m. For a second grader or an eighth grader? And Kelly, you've been a part of that guiding coalition, and I'm hoping you can just share a little bit about that work.
So the work is really guided, again, by student voice. In our visioning process, we did a community conversation. You probably saw a picture of me up there with 3 kids. And we had two young ladies on the panel who were who you'd think, honor students, student council, really involved. But the third young woman was someone who had felt pushed out of one of our regular high schools, not supported, because during the pandemic, she and her family had hunkered down in Mexico, so her English skills had fallen off. And then when she came back, she felt her English was not as good as it was, and she felt like nobody at the high school cared about her anymore. But then she went to our continuation high school, and she was quite possibly the best advocate in a community conversation we've ever had for different pathways, for different students, for different reasons, right? And so Donna was her name, is who I've carried with me in my heart the whole time we've been doing this. But we've been... We've visited other schools, and I have already been advocating to all of my colleagues, the best thing that any of us can do is go into another teacher's classroom, but the ultimate best thing we can do is go see another teacher at a Title I school and see the incredible, amazing work that they are doing, and know that we can do that too. We should be doing that too. What we do in all of our schools should be for that community, but also learn from everybody else. One school is no better than anybody else because of some designation. But working with the Guiding Coalition, talking to parents, talking to students, seeing other teachers in action has made Learn, Navigate, Impact, Thrive become more important. We also took a trip to San Diego. And saw 4 different schools that had worked with the Learner-Centered Collaborative. But we assessed those schools through our new frameworks, our instructional framework and our Portrait of a Graduate, to really look at those things. And we're able to see, yep, we're doing that, and that's great. But oh, wow, could we do that too? And the answer nowadays is always yes. Yes, we can.
Thank you, Kelly. And a shout out to Learner Centered Collaborative. That was a fabulous trip. And one of the things I really appreciate their work is it is always beginning with the assets and the strengths of the district that you already have, and bringing people together. And so whether it's that trip or the guiding coalition, it's building the muscle of teachers getting to work with central office folks, getting to work with families, and too often they don't get to be in the room together. But if you create space and place for them to come together across different stakeholder hats, incredible things happen. And the guiding coalition has launched that work really strongly this year. Alma, big finish. The fellowship ended like, I don't know, years ago, but y'all have kept rolling. I don't think y'all took a week off. Can you share, since the fellowship, what is the work that you and the other family leaders have taken on since the strategic plan was adopted?
We actually decided our strategic plan, one of our promises was that students receive excellent instruction. So we talked with families. We found out a lot of parents in the community were concerned about their children's reading level, not reading at grade level. So we decided to focus a campaign on literacy. One of our family group leaders started looking at data for our district. We also started meeting with teachers. We started interviewing teachers in our district, principals. Dr. Moore was one of our interviews too. We started looking inside our district first. We learned more about literacy in our schools, what changes needed to be made, and what changes weren't working and not working. Throughout these meetings, we learned that our literacy curriculum was 13 years old and not aligned to the science of reading. We also learned that the district was currently doing a math pilot and focusing on adapting a new math curriculum, which was also outdated. We decided to shift and support the new math curriculum, even though our campaign focused on literacy. We also know that the importance of ensuring that our children have high-quality math curriculum. We informed other parents about the board meetings. We made public comments, and board anonymously voted to approve the new curriculum for middle school and high school. We plan to continue to work to make changes in literacy and also make sure that we advocate to ensure that our children in our elementaries have high-quality math curriculum.
Thank you very much, Alma. One of the things that has been so inspiring about the way the family leaders have worked is they have sought to be clear and firm in their expectations and aspirations for their kids, but also to be solutions-oriented partners, right? And so it's not come to the board meeting and be mad and yell at Dr. Moore. It is do the research, do the work, get clear on what you want for your kids, and then go have the conversations with the district leaders, with teachers to say, hey, this is what we want, this is what we think can get us there, and can we work together to make it happen, which is so inspiring. We're coming up to time, and so I'm going to give y'all a last shot for closing reflections. Two-parter, think tweets back when it was 140 characters, so short answers. One, personally, where do you hope this work will be in 5 years in South City? And two, if you could offer one piece of advice for people in this room who might be interested in taking on a similar effort in their community, what would that advice be? Kelly, I'll let you go first.
So in 5 years, I don't want to be part of pockets of excellence. I want to be in a district of excellence, and we're on our way. The most important thing you can do is don't let it die. If there's 5 people that want to hang on to it, keep fighting. There's 25 people. Start with a coalition of the willing and go from there.
Thank you. Yeah, I would also say in 5 years, I would love to have just an incredibly healthy district and school culture that exemplifies excellence in our words, our behaviors, our actions, and we show up and make every single person in our district feel heard, seen, cared for, and loved. I think my advice would be keep the main thing the main thing. We know why we're here, we know for whom we are here to serve, and that we let that, along with our core values and our beliefs, guide us every single day when we have to make hard decisions in deference to students. And I think through all the challenges and the grind, that is what I would keep as the main focus.
For me, I hope that we have reached our goals and all of our children are at great level in literacy and mathematics. I also hope that we have built a strong community, a strong partnership between parents, teachers, and districts. Personally, this work has inspired me to be an early education teacher and even consider
Wait for it.
running for school board. I look forward to continue to serve students and families in my community. One piece of advice that I would give: never stop believing in parents and families, and always keep students and the community at the center.
I'll close quickly with my aspiration is 5 years for South City is we had to get on a bus to go to Lindsay to see what it looks like for a community to co-create a vision and realize it for kids. I hope in 5 years y'all are worn out by people coming to see what y'all have done. Bring it. And if I could close with one piece of advice, it's don't lose sight of the how. What's matter, but the time it has taken to do things the right way, to move at the speed of the trust, to move at the speed of relationships, has been a game changer. Not only is the work still hard for the right reasons, but it's also moving faster and fun because you've taken the time to bring people along, and you're not trying to change people's minds, but they're actually getting excited because they're seeing the fruits of their labor pay off. And so it's worth going a little bit slower. I asked you all at the top for a round of applause. I hope they earned it, and so if you give them one more big one to close out.